It's a pleasure to be here, John. Thank you so much. Given I am right, just about 30 miles north of Manhattan, it's a unique honor to be here in person, instead of all those Zoom meetings, never-ending Zoom meetings. So, Lucy, thank you for introducing me to this community, and Francis for the lovely introduction. And special thanks to Maria and Ray, who have been shepherding this. Organizing it so well and helping us through all of last week. So when they invited me, I have of course asked about who is going to be there, what kind of. I was thinking, should I just get so technical that you'll all fall asleep right in the morning, that too after breakfast, or I should talk more about, given the thread today is really about inclusion. I thought. Having worked in AI for now, I'm going to date myself. By 2028, it will be 40 years of research and development work I have done. So I thought maybe through my life's journey, life's work in AI, is that what it says? Yeah. What have I learned? Not just in a broader term, but how also being an AI scientist, as you know, in a challenging world, what it means to be an AI scientist and what it means to be inclusive. And the lessons I've learned through this journey to make perfect sense, eminent sense even today. So that tells you how much road we have to continue to travel in order to have the right kind of representation. So given this setup, feel free to stop me. Next, please. Yeah. Where is Ray?
I believe there's a slide you go through with a slide.
Okay. All right. So Francis gave you a synopsis of my career. So I was born in India, but I have lived now in the United States longer than I have lived in India. I came just as many of you did for my graduate studies, but I switched. Crazy I was, from electrical engineering to computer science when I came here, so I had to do a dash through a master's in computer science and PhD. So when I finished PhD, now everybody in the globe knows Gen AI, right? I mean, you have to really worry about someone if they don't know what artificial intelligence is. But when I was researching, both for my master's and as well as in PhD, and I joined IBM Research. IBM Research shut down the robotics and AI team. I picked the right time to get a PhD and join IBM Research. So people don't know that history. So thankfully, I was doing a lot of multimedia research, and IBM had this. IBM had this very first grant for digital television. Can you believe it? There are many, many firsts I have, through this life's work, I have been part and parcel of, fortunate to be. So NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, awarded a $25 million grant to multiplicity of companies involving IBM, Sun Microsystems, if you remember, anyone remembers, they are the, and other telephone companies, in order to have the first instance of a digital television running, because Japanese had already made great strides and US was lagging behind on this money. So I joined that project, and that's where it started. So as I went through that career journey, so Frances said she was with IBM 37 years. I was not that long. I was almost 22 years when I graduated from IBM. And every decision along the way has been punctuated by something important either in the world around me or in my own personal life. So I thought I'll give you a flavor of how AI itself has evolved. All of you know about Gen AI, but there are lots of other kinds of AI that existed that we have utilized. Machine learning, for example, decision support system, expert systems. If you know expert system, then you belong to the same age group as I am. So I thought I'll pick few iconic moments that happened in the US history, as well as how my research life, believe it or not, I am from, an outsider who has moved to this country. So how my life got involved in the same kind of iconic moments. And through that, I learned a lot, and I thought you will appreciate that life's lessons and therefore, how we can take them forward for inclusion. That sounds good? If you want to take it any other way, if you want to get detail in Gen AI questions, I use a lot of Gen AI to develop a new app for Alzheimer's. We can go there too. The first one, I wanted to go back, actually. You remember that, Hamilton? Everybody remembers how Aaron Burr with energy says, I want to be in the room that that happened. Really, I think every one of us, especially in AI, given the sliver of representation of women in the AI workforce, we need to have that kind of energy and ambition to be there. And it is very important. It's very important from not only a personal growth perspective, but also for the right things to happen. I'll tell you why I say that, how that has helped me, to be focused on, to be in the room where things happen. So 9/11 happened. Next. Yeah. So 9/11 happened. So I was actually outside the country. It took me enormous time to get back because you remember things. And soon after that, there was this Department of Homeland Security. Now everybody knows it by TSA. It got formed by cobbling together 20 plus different agencies scattered around the country. And they approached IBM, and especially IBM Research, to help them come up with this new project. And there was a research leader who was involved in e-learning institute. When she approached me and asked me to be present at that meeting, just as many of us do, initially I was shy. I wasn't sure whether I should attend. Is this the right thing for me? We all go through those moments of right? Self-doubt and hesitation. And additionally, I didn't want to be involved in any defense. This Homeland Security immediately scared me. All through my life, I was very sure that I was not going to be doing any research related to defense, and my advisor respected that, BSc advisor. So now at IBM, when they call me, but after much hesitation, I did join. I was in the room when that happened, when that meeting happened. And much to my surprise, the division, the people who are present from the Department of Homeland Security, guess where they belong to? They were division of bioterrorism and chemical warfare. You can imagine how my heart sank in that first 5 minutes sitting there. Oh my goodness, I'm at the wrong place. I don't know what they are going to ask of IBM. I'm already preparing all the ways I could say no to this project. I haven't heard a whit about what this project is about. It's because just the name itself. But what happened really is that despite that dangerous sounding name, what they really wanted was this amazing thing which really spoke to me. They wanted, given everything or the emergency responder, you saw that, oh wow, this slide just zipped through.
I didn't change it like a mechanical back. I don't know why.
Okay, so anyway, you saw that harrowing picture. That picture is always on my mind. When the emergency responder rushing to the place where there was the most risk, right? Everybody's running out, but they are rushing towards that. So they wanted, for the first time, equip them with the knowledge in their fingertips at any time if there were going to be another incident like that, because that was completely unexpected. So what if there were going to be a bioterrorist attack? What if there was going to be chemical warfare? How do we actually prepare our emergency responders with that? So that's how it came to be. I was in that room when that meeting happened with this division of biological warfare and chemical warfare, where they asked about this. So I set aside all my misgivings, and I started working with the e-learning institute. But more than being present, what I was also able to learn from that experience is that while they came here to IBM Research to just set up, collect all the information that was scattered in so many different places, and then they just wanted it to be available on a browser, that's all. But as I understood their problem, I could relate to them and say, okay, the emergency responders act. They don't just read a checklist and say, okay, you do this in an emergency. they are rushing to save your life, so they need to know. So therefore, multimedia or video-based education is going to be the forward. At that time, multimedia was not, part and parcel of this e-learning system. So I proposed that the division consider multimedia-based learning too. And then we came up with these algorithms, AI algorithms, no Gen AI, but it was a lot of image processing where we were able to automatically take an hour-long bioterrorism course, for example, and turn them into everything done automatically by AI into meaningful chunks called learning objects, and then you make them available on the browser. So this is iPhone. So you have to remember that this is pre-2006, so it was only on the browser, so I'm telling you ancient history. And people could imagine searching videos by keywords, and then it will automatically, non-linearly go to that. Video is a very linear progression. You look at time 0, time 5, time 10, but if you want to jump to time 47, you still have to scroll forward and backward. We eliminated it. We introduced this thing called nonlinear semantic browsing, and that became part and parcel of the system. So for me, therefore, inclusion then and now is for all of us to be there. Raise our hands when somebody is inviting you just to brainstorm, or somebody has a question for you. I think life has taught me enough that you have to show up. Whether we know what is going to come at us or not, just to be in the room is going to open up the opportunities. Number one, opportunities for us and an opportunity to give back, to change the community. Had I not been there, setting aside my misgivings, I would have lost this tremendous opportunity to serve emergency responders who so, heroically gave their lives to protect all of us. So that's why okay, the next, thank you. So that's for me is the life lesson, and it is also important in AI. And so this system existed. So I went and looked at my archives of 2003 to go back and pull this out. You can see how, grainy the image is. So next, please. So now you're in the room, and I wanted to, so I don't know whether you can read it. It says, I see you're questioning the status quo. I too like to live dangerously. So that would be my next life lesson I did. Always, wherever you are, when you're in the room, question the status quo. Why not should be the question that has helped me the most throughout. And why is that? Next slide, please. So I came off this project for 9/11, and as some of you know, 2008, the worst economic crisis unfolded across the globe. And in the United States, in addition to economic crisis, the housing market collapsed. There were 9 to 11 million. Some of you probably were youngsters, in your when you 10 or so 9 to 11 million U.S. homeowners could not make their mortgage payment. As you know, when we buy homes, we get a loan, and it's in the U.S. it is 30 years long, and we pay every month money mortgage payment to the bank. And then when we move, you get a new mortgage and so on. But so 9 to 11 million. Remember, 9 to 11 million doesn't sound big, but if you recollect, at that time there were only 48 million Americans holding mortgages. Think about that. So almost 1 in 4, or a little less than 1 in 4, were at the brink of foreclosure. When there is a foreclosure, if you are foreclosed on, that means I will get evicted from my home. I lose my community ties. I cannot get any personal loan. I cannot get any auto loan that continues for 7 years. The stigma of foreclosure stays on forever. And imagine the 9 to 11 million Americans facing that foreclosure. So I got involved in that project. I moved from research, and then IBM at that time took this risk of, given the state of the country at that time. There is a nice story, actually. Fannie Mae, CEO, and IBM CEO apparently were neighbors in Greenwich, Connecticut. So they were talking across their, compound wall. and then talking about the state of the affair, and then the Fannie Mae said, IBM is the only company, technology company, untainted by the crisis. The banks made the loans. So they were already thought of as part and parcel of the problem. So they asked for help. And I, from IBM Research, I'll tell you, I'm the first one to tell you that I did not know how the community was doing. I had my little home, I was making, I had a job, I was making my mortgage payment. But only when you read the newspapers and when I started getting all the data, I realized how tremendously burdensome the problem was. So what I did, as you know, as a researcher, that's why I question the status quo. I go into this, the general manager of financial services business takes me, and being a researcher, you're unafraid, right? You go to Fannie Mae and tell them why they messed up the country with all their analytical models and how Chitra and her team from IBM Research is going to solve it all. This is perfectly taking coal to Newcastle. But that's the kind of, what shall I say? I felt motivated. For 6 months, I just read every report out of Federal Reserve to Goldman Sachs to understand what was going on. And I felt that this is what I should be doing, as the next step. So I moved from IBM Research into this subsidiary. It was a huge culture shock, I can tell you. This is a financial services company, not a technology company. And I am a ivory tower researcher, so they had no trust in me. Not a chance. Whatever Chitra says, they'll question. So in that environment, we had between 400 and 500,000 loans. Every day I was looking at them. It was 60 to 70 billion dollars of, that's the value of that portfolio. And they asked me to run the data analytics. And the Fannie Mae simply gave me only one goal. Just like Moonshot, for us the holy grail was going to be removing the foreclosure crisis, reducing the foreclosure crisis. Every person you save from foreclosure, Chitra, IBM will get a real dollars in incentive. So you can imagine the pressure. Anyway, so I was fortunate to be at the right time, in the right place. And so I had all the data. I was close to the operations. And when I surveyed the data, that's why I said, why the status quo, question the status quo. This financial services company, they do a lot of modeling, as you know. They have quantitative data, going back 10 years, 20 years. But what they didn't realize is they were sitting on treasure trove, which in today's Gen I world will seem like simple. They were sitting on agent logs. When you call, customer service agent, writes notes about why you called. Like that speech recordings, they had them. 3 million of them over the, prior to 2008. So I said, what do you do with it? Oh, it's there for auditing. And I said, oh my God. You tell that to an AI scientist, so that's it, right? That's all. I had no. So I told them that quantitative data tells you only half the story. It doesn't tell how Chitra feels about the home. I'm scared. My children go to school. My parents live here. And to be evicted out of my home is something extremely emotionally traumatic. How do you get that from data, quantitative data? Quantitative data says Chitra hasn't paid for 3 months or 6 months. That's all and Chitra got this loan. So this is predating Gen I. So we did, with our team's help, we actually analyzed all of those logs. I personally read 100,000 logs over a period of four months because I wanted to get a sense of how Middle America feels, how Floridian feels, and so on. And we were able to, therefore, personalize the right kind of help. If Chitra wants to stay here and her community, her ties are here, her interest rate should be reduced. That's the right help. She wants her kids to go to school. This is where she has her roots. Whereas John, I'll pick on John. John has a second home in Florida. So John's ties to the second home is very different from Chitra's ties. So you've got to give a different solution with a short sale and so on. So this is hyper-personalization. We didn't invent the word then. This is hyper-personalization of AI because every loan was analyzed by AI and the right script was presented to the customer service agent. When Chitra calls, they are going to say, I'm so sorry you're going through this, you're unable to make the mortgage payment, we are going to reduce your monthly rate, interest rate, yada yada. When John calls, he says, John, the best approach for you is to hand over the key so that you will not be foreclosed upon. You can walk with your head held high in dignity, no foreclosure stigma. John gets this. So very different solution. And just one AI solution that they were very skeptical of, we saved Fannie Mae nearly $54 million in less than 33 months. That's the money Fannie would have lost had those thousands of homes had been put on auction in foreclosure. And 3,100 and some number, 3,100 homes, families were saved from foreclosure, just one. Anyway, I gave you one example. I did 15 plus, that's all. So 2008 through 2015, I was embedded in this. That's all. Every day I thought of only somebody in East Texas going through foreclosure crisis. How do you save that person? So always ask, I look at it as status quo, because especially being Asian Americans, we need to go extra mile to persuade people to believe in what you're saying. So there will always be skepticism. So I jokingly say, I don't start my conversations with why, but why not? So that they get used to that. So that would be, and even today, I think that's why not is important, because as you know, we are, even with Gen AI, the data especially has a lot of biases, and the training is badly done, and it's up to us to be in the room and asking that why not question to make sure the Gen AI models are trained in a responsible manner for us to use. So I know they're showing me time, so I'm going to speed it up. The last point I wanted to talk was, I wanted to show you. Next, please. This is an important thing. When you're in the room and you're making a case, why not, and you're persuading people, one thing is important. You have to work on important problems. Or more frequently than not, we are asked to do things in the corporate setup, to do incremental work, support somebody, be a data analyst. But there are so many important problems. I think it's up to us to make sure those problems are aired, those problems are discussed, so that every one of us get a chance to work on those important problems. This is a beautiful quote by Richard Hamming, a US American mathematician who passed away, but he says, if you don't work on important problems, it's not likely that you will do important work. And that's the next page. That's where my life now is. So I graduated from IBM in 2018, right when I was appointed an IBM fellow. Huge honor. The entire country of India rejoiced. I couldn't open my email inbox for several days. So many emails from, you know how it is. Asians, I say, they celebrate and they grieve together. That is our culture. We come together in joy, we come together in grief. But my mother was diagnosed with dementia. So, they're saying destiny tapped Chitra on her shoulder. Because otherwise I was going to be, I'm an IBM fellow, I'm going to change the world with everything that I'm talking about in IBM. But destiny tapped me and said, so my mother got dementia over the course of time. I was her caregiver remotely initially. So I saw that how it takes about 80 years. People live about 8 years. Through that, I really got so within 2 years, I was convinced that my life is not going to be at IBM. It is going to be serving the people living with dementia. So that's what. So I graduated from IBM. I took my life savings and started Amicus Brain. And that's where I am at. So what we have is next page, just one. And then what we have is an AI platform, because that's what I do. 30 plus years, I know so well. So even before ChatGPT came along, 2019, I built the first conversational AI for dementia patients, so that they can, it's available here. You can just type or talk and ask about, mom is screaming, I'm unable to help her, what shall I do? Because those are the questions, it's very hard to ask. These are very personal questions. People go through psychological. So anyway, that is my life now, focused on Amicus Brain and making sure people around the globe get the help they need, regardless of whether they know the language, whether they are rich or poor, they live in rural area. The goal of Amicus Brain is to lower the barriers to access to high quality. So thank you for listening to my story and some of the learnings I have had. So I'm around. So I hope to have wonderful conversations. Today's theme is all about inclusion. So I hope that all of you will enjoy the panels that are going to follow this presentation. So thanks again.